Hey everyone, I just wanted to record a video looking at polynomial functions and how you might think about using those in your graph project. Um, so first off, polynomials, right, have kind of a wiggle to them. It could be quadratics where there's just one bend, or it could be cubic where there's a couple bends. So you're looking at something maybe that goes up, down, up. Um, Depending on how many times you want to go up and down, I would say probably at the most maybe two or three bends is probably reasonable. More than that, and polynomials not probably not going to fit real great across the whole thing. So things on this graph that I might, or this picture that I might be looking at is something like Calvin's top of the eye, right? That goes down, up, and then down toward the nose, and then up again on the next eye, or maybe on the Hobbes, right? Kind of the bottom part of his hand right here, right? So this kind of goes up and then up and down again. Um, so we're going to do maybe the bottom of Hobbes's hand here. I haven't tried that one yet. So we'll go ahead and do our best. It may or may not fit real well. We'll see. If it doesn't, then that would be something where I would say, okay, come back later, right, and try some different functions, right? There, maybe try it differently. But this will just give you an idea of how you can try a polynomial, see if it works. Maybe it will work, maybe it won't. But it'll be worth a shot, right? So let's go ahead and first off talk about my approach that I'm going to use. So my approach to polynomials is generally, right, we think about polynomials as zeros where it crosses the x-axis. This is way up here, but that doesn't mean we can't shift things up, right? We can always kind of shift things up. So I'm going to look at this line right here, which looks like it's about 6, right? So um, I'm going to think of that as my baseline and kind of go from there. So let's go and type in, I'm going to put in a few constants, right? So I might put in like a, and then x. Where would it cross this 6? It would be maybe right here around like 8.2, something like that, 8.5-ish, something like that. So I'll just put in minus 8.5. All right. I'll put in another one around here, right, which is like maybe 9. So x minus 9. And let's put in like a x minus 9.1, another thing that's pretty close to that. Where it'll go down, maybe touch and then touch again. And then maybe somewhere like way over here around 12. So these are total like ballpark guesses. We'll adjust these in a minute. Out of slider A, right? So here's my function that's doing what I asked it to do. I want that shifted up, right? So I want that, and this should be a minus 12, not a plus 12. So that looks a little bit better. We'll go ahead and shift this up, right? So if I do a plus 6, right, then that shifts everything up to where I'm looking at. And you may think, wow, that's not very close at all. And you'd be right. So I need just this. Instead of 9s, I think those need to be 10s. I think I was looking at it kind of incorrectly there. So those need to be 10s instead of 9s. So that's a little bit closer. This is still not quite doing exactly what I want. First, I want this to go up, not down. So that would be throwing in maybe like a negative, right? Making that a negative. And then this is the idea, right, is that I can use these sliders to kind of adjust how tall I want things, how wide or short, or all of that can be done with sliders, right? So this peak I would like to move to the left a little bit. So I'm going to take, I think this part here and try to move it left. So, so this 10 I would like to be maybe over a little bit, closer to the maybe like 9.5. That'll move it over. this part needs to be a lot shorter, right? So maybe I'll move in that 12, maybe call that 11. That was a little too much, right? Maybe 0.5. So that'll get it at least, right? Getting a little close. And you can put in other sliders, right? So if I want to put in like, call this a C, right? And add a slider C, and C was, we said, about 8.5. All right, I can put that in, and then take that back to about 8.5. If you want to adjust, right, how your range, right, I can say, well, I definitely want it somewhere between 8 and 9, right? I don't need all those other numbers. And the step size we can make like 0.01, and then I hit enter on that. Now when I drag it, it's a much finer, right, resolution, and you can see that graph changing, right, in a much smaller way than it did before. So this will kind of give you some adjustment that you can make to your graph. Same thing with some of these other ones, right? I might put in, so we already did C, let's do D, maybe an E, all right. And these are going to be around, not a 3, E. Oh, E is a constant, so I'll have to skip that. F, right, and may as well make a G, right, with those guys, and we'll add all those. Let me go ahead and put these in order, right, so I'm going to go A, then C, then F, then G. All right, and this was supposed to be around 10, so we'll say maybe negative 9.5. Not negative, 9.5 to 10.5, right? Every 0.01. And we can just make that right around 10, or I'll have to get the rest of these kind of situated again. The F, right, that was like 10.1, but we're going to say somewhere between, again, 9.5 and 10.5 is probably good. Every 0.01. And then the G, this I think was around 11, right? Maybe 11.5, something like that. And we'll say that can be anywhere between maybe 10.5 and 12, right? And then step size 0.01. And that again gives me another slider I can use. So just modifying, right, some of these, so I can bring that up a little bit. Looks like that, right? 10 that's in the middle needs to move to the left quite a bit. We'll move that one as well. And these are all, if I wanted to graph, right, the +6. Let me go and insert another equation here, just y equals 6. Right, these are kind of where I'm intersecting this midline that's right here. So this is kind of the new x-axis for me, is that +6 that I put at the end. And this is where that polynomial would normally be crossing, right, with all of those factors. And then this is the stretch, right, that A is the stretch up or shrink down that I'm going to need. So, and generally the closer that those zeros are, the less they tend to go up or down from the middle there. So the closer these two are together, the closer they're going to be to that line. The further away, like that furthest point, if I make it further away, that peak is going to go up. If I bring it closer in, that peak's going to go down. So that's some of the behavior we can kind of expect through some of that. I think that's getting pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and hide that +6. And if I zoom in a little bit more, right, it's like, well, was looking good, maybe not as good now that you zoom in. But keep in mind, right, our overall is going to be kind of this -15 to 15 range. So I am going to zoom in, but overall I want my picture to look good at this scale, not the further zoomed in scale. But I am going to adjust this maybe just a little bit more. So let's see, I'll go ahead and take this maybe more to the left. We'll bring in this other side, that C value, right? We'll kind of adjust that as well. And let's bring in, I think, that D and that F. Then we'll lower that. So now I'm affecting the right side. So that F's going to have to go out a bit. I think there. The D might need a little more range on that. So we'll say maybe make that a 9. That'll go that way. And then I think this D can go up, right? So you're basically just playing around with some of these values. See what looks good. If I want that peak, I might have to do another function right there if I want that little hand part that goes there, but overall, right, I can just play around with this. So I'm going to play around with a little bit more. I'll show you at the end what I end up with. All right, so this might be a final version, right, of what I want. What you'll usually do is then retype, because you don't want to mess things up by changing sliders and losing your values. So just retype these in. So the A I'll put in a negative 0.1. I might not need the O2, right? Maybe. I'll change that if I think I need it. And then the X minus the C, which is 8.11. I got the X minus D, 9.11. I got the X minus F, which is 10.22. And I got the X minus G, which is 11.22. And then that polynomial has been shifted up by 6.1. So that looks like that. It maybe is a little bit farther off than what I want, so I'll go through and check the values. I don't think it's the O2. I'll double check. Yeah, it's not that that's throwing it off. It's going to be something else. Let me see. Double check my values. 22, 11.82, not 22. There we go. All right, so that looks pretty good. The last thing I'll do is restrict it. All right, so I want to restrict this so that it ends about here, right? And a good way to look is just to kind of use your mouse and slider. So this ends at about 8.62. So I'll say negative 8.62, less than or equal to x, and less than or equal to this value clear over here, which is about 11.38. So 11.38. And that will be the restriction that I want. Oh, that should have been a positive 8.62. There we go. So that ends about where I want it, and I can hide that red line. That looks like a good purple line. If I want to make that black or some other color, right, I can click in here on a different color. I can make it a little bolder if I want. Keep in mind when I zoom out, right, it is going to be kind of thicker than what I see when I'm really zoomed in. So, but that is that line right there, that orange one, or purple. And in my final version, I would probably make it black because it's black in the drawing. I will have to go back in and put in, right, maybe another line for that little tick mark right there. But that should do it. So that's kind of how to use polynomials in the graphing project.